Oh wow, hey, Christmas is over with, but there's always lots of more tools down the road that we all need, right? There's something came up this past week that it's been going on for a while, and I just got to show it to you because this is something we all are faced with, but I have an answer, okay? So here it is. This is my grease gun for, you know, my tractor or whatever I'm working on that I need grease. And you can see this is an absolute mess. It's leaking grease all the time. The plunger's always hanging out. After you use this thing one time even, it's like, what do you do with it, you know? So I have a steel bin where I hold it to keep it, to try to contain the mess that it, you know, even on the rag, I've got a greasy mess. This thing is just disgusting. Is there a better way? Apparently, yes, there is. And we're gonna look at it right now. Yeah, the nasty old grease gun. Hey, check this out. This thing here. This is a different kind of grease gun, but no pumping or pulling back. No air gaps. No leakage of grease. That's my problem right there. But no wasted grease either, and no wasted time. Well, I don't know about the time thing, but yeah, okay, I'll go for that. Yeah, this is a product that was given to me over Christmas, so. Yes, I will provide a link in the description below where you can find one of these puppies. It's a little bit different, but the whole approach is that it's a real clean, easy to store grease gun. It doesn't make a mess. Not like, yeah, not like that thing. I don't even like it up here on my, oh jeez. Yeah, I don't like it even up on my workbench because it's already, you know, leaking oily grease stuff all over the place. I have like I said, a metal bin, and it's kind of disgusting because it's the only thing that can go in there because that thing makes such a mess. So, how do they do that? Well, there's a couple of things that they do here, which is they have their own tube of grease that will go into the grease gun a special way, which, of course, you can't just go buy the grease tubes that you usually buy for these. You have to buy their grease tube, but their prices for the grease tube was fine. They have general purpose greases just like I would buy anywhere else. So I ended up, it was like, I don't really have a problem with that, but I really like the idea like they've got here with the picture of the hands with the X through them like that. But yeah, it's there's also something here, and I'm looking at this because apparently it looks to me like the cartridge that you use the grease out of can be refilled and reused or something. That would be kind of interesting too. But this is made in Germany, by the way, I better mention that. And it's called a Lube Shuttle. It uses 99% of the grease in the tube will get used. In other words, like they said, less waste. Over 80% of the grease is cost and labor, you know. 10 times quicker than changing a standard tube. So that kind of got my interest going too a little bit. Zero mess, no leaks, no air gaps, and no waste. Was kind of like, you know what, I gotta see this crazy thing. And I had looked at it about a month ago, and apparently Santa was spying on me at the time, and they realized, oh, he would like to have one of these. So under the Christmas tree yesterday, we found that. Yeah. So let's get out of the box and take a good look at it, because it looks like a grease gun to me, but it does come with some interesting fittings. And also, there's there's the gun. There's the tube, which has this weird little cap thing on it. And of course, you don't put it in this way. I think you put it in I think it screws in the other way. Yeah, it screws in this way or something. And there's no plunger, so you don't have to plunge this thing to make it work. All the pump action is done in the very top. Let me get this off of here. And you see how the top screws into this. So how does it work? I don't know. But it keeps everything nice and clean. And there's the other tube there, yep, full of grease, yep. And it pumps it up out of the tube and out. And like I said, if you look at these things, I think you could technically, if you really had to in a pinch, let's see if we can get the cap off. Yeah, there's the grease right at the very top. And this is just a multi-purpose construction and farm grease, which of course for the John Deere is, yeah, it's exactly what we want. So, you know, good. And this screws into that top, and so it's just held. And you don't have the leakage and the mess that you usually have. And of course it has the flexible line on the other end, so you can, again, you know, reach in and get hooked up on grease nipples and pump the grease. And it also has a safety lock type system here, which, you know, again, you can lock this thing onto the grease nipple so that as you're pumping, it doesn't, you know, get off of there and fly around or something. It has actually a little handle on there, and the handle, when you squeeze down, it helps to lock it to the grease nipple. So again, you know, interesting company, you know, interesting product, you know. And like I said, with the product, you've got 2 tubes of grease right away, and that's, I'll be honest, let's be honest, that tube of grease in there is so old, I have no idea when I bought it. I would take a guess and say between 5 and 10 years ago, because, you know, I only use a little bit of grease for my bearings and my tractors, and maybe around the car or something, a little dab of grease sometimes that I put on my finger or something to swipe on something. But beyond that, I don't use it a lot, but it sure is a mess. You know, it's just nasty. It's just one of those nasty things. I hate dealing with a grease gun. Actually, this is a bit longer tube than I'm used to having on a grease gun, which is kind of cool too, because sometimes, you know, having enough of that. I'm just gonna put that on hand tight right now, but we'll unscrew this. This just sort of protects the tube of grease while it's mounted to the machine. And then, you know, we'll take the top off like that. There's threads on the top. You can see that, I don't know. Focus. And then it just threads into here. So it screws onto the top. And let's see if we can get this without cross-threading it. Nice and tight. And then we'll put this back over and tighten that up. The tube sticks out on the bottom a little bit. That's kind of weird, but whatever. Oh, and they've got a little lock ring thing here, so you don't set this thing off by mistake. But when you're done with that, you could coil this up, put it back in this box like this. Oh, heck, even put that back in there, and this little extra piece. I heard about this and from some car club people, and they had told me about it, and I was like, you know, I can't imagine a grease gun like that. But yeah, there we go. Now it's all in the box. And again, you could just store this in your toolbox, with the box for that matter, instead of, you know, look at this thing. I mean, when you're finished with it like that, you know, it's like, how do you store that mess? And usually what I've done in the past, and I can't do it right here, but when I had a wooded building, a nice wood building, I would drive a big, you know, 3.5-inch nail into a wall someplace and just hook it on the nail and just leave it hanging while it dripped, you know, oily grease off the bottom of this, the plunger and stuff, and just made a mess all over the place. Why this doesn't do that, open it back up, is because the tube itself is kind of like, it's like an RTV tube or whatever, you know, and like silicone, you know, tube and all that, where you have like a plunger, like a black, you know, plastic piece bent down here that helps keep this sealed up, so it's not going to leak grease out the bottom or something on you. Plus, obviously, you know, and you could just put that safely in your toolbox like that, in like your roll around, you know, in your drawer, whatever, and you could put that in your drawer like that and just keep it, and you don't have the greasy mess coming out of everything, you know, in every corner of every orifice, you know, of the machine. And so I heard about it. I heard it was really good. A lot of recommendations about it and stuff. But I was surprised that Santa had figured out I needed, you know, oh yeah, he'd like to have one of those. That's probably one of those, just one of those crazy little things in the shop that just kind of, you know, irritates you, is a grease gun, because it's such a mess all the time to deal with. No, they didn't send this over or sponsor or anything like that. No, this is something that, you know, Santa brought me and dropped it off. You know, I don't know how he got it in there, but coming down the chimney must have been a bear. Made in Germany, so it's good precision piece of equipment, and I like the grease gun this way too. That's the other thing. I've never been too crazy about this business, partly because, again, it's just harder to store, it's bulkier, and it just makes a mess. In a setup like this, the other thing I like with a feature is you can be putting this on a, you know, grease nipple and holding it on, and you can sit here and pump like this. You don't need to have the 3 hands, you know. You got 2 hands to pump this and 1 hand trying to hold that. That's 3 hands. We don't come with 3 hands. You know? So all that's wonderful, but how do you get the air out? Well, that's the slick trick too that they've got here in the instructions. But oops, we've got a little bit going on here. This plastic plunger underneath here, you just push that up with your hands a little bit to start with, and get this about 1/4 inch like that above the thread, and then start it up. And that way you know you've got grease right up into the pump, so that you don't have a lot of, you know, an air blockage thing. If you've ever had air in a grease gun, it can drive you crazy doing this business and pushing on the plunger and trying to get the grease started to, you know, to pull. So yeah, interesting product from Lube Shuttle. Wow, yeah, I heard about it, and there it is. Wowee. So I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find this puppy, and yes, that'll be an affiliated link where we might get some commission if somebody buys something. Yes. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Meantime, I'm out of here. Over and out.